Most asked questions I get. Is gender really that important? Is it really that important? What do you think? It is very important. And I find here in the States that that gender difference kind of like gets ignored. Because here in the States, different than in Europe, we want to be equal, which is a fantastic thing. Everybody has the same rights, we have equal rights, we can vote, all those things that the feminist movement has achieved over so many years, 60 years, 70 years, is all fantastic, but it still doesn't change that at the core, we're still men and women. So we have equal rights, equal everything, but we're not the same. And if you forget about that, we have problems. There are a lot of diversity parts in companies, diversity teams and everything else. And I find they talk about the age difference, because there's a difference there too in age. In age, they talk about different ethnic backgrounds and all that stuff, but nobody talks about gender. And I think it's because sexual harassment, all those things here in the States, is dangerous. I can go into corporations and say, stop being so girly, or stop crying so much, you're not going to get what you want. I can say that. I come from the outside. HR department says that, there's going to be a big lawsuit coming afterwards. Are there individual differences? Of course there are. We're talking here on the ice cream level, not on the flavor level. So there's ice cream and there's milk or chocolate. We're talking on that level. We don't talk about the flavors. There are all kinds of different things that different people do. So it's not cliche, but you find a lot of things be very similar. And we talk about the bell curve. We're not talking about the exceptions. There are always exceptions to the rules, but we talk about the majority of people. So how do you think we acquire the way we are? How do you think we acquire that? The old nature, nurture. What is it? Is it nature or is it nurture? Nurture? Nature? Both. Both. And I'll show you, I'll give you an example of each of them, and you'll see there's a lot of nature and there's a lot of nurture. And you understand why you sometimes react a certain way, and then you ask yourself, why did I say that? It's the cave woman coming out. We'll talk about that later. And then which style is better? You'll decide that later. So let's talk about the nurture first. Studies have shown that we treat boys and girls different before they're even born. Those of you who have kids, were you thinking about or dreaming about what you're going to have before you even knew? Right? You were like, I want a boy, I want a girl. So before you even have the baby, you already have a preference. Normally, when you're pregnant, you do not paint the nursery pink unless you know you're going to have a girl, right? So you already start doing that. And if you know you have a boy, then most likely you're not going to paint it pink. So there's already gender expectation that early. Before the baby is born, you have certain expectations. Then, when they are born, studies show that delivery room nurses touch boys and girls different. They already hold them different. There's 30-year-old studies that show that. They hold them different. They talk to them different. Already at that age, there's a difference. And sometimes not even conscious, but they do that. Then, at the age of 2 or 3, that's when kids understand who they are. They say, like, well, mommy looks different than daddy, and I look like mommy, or I look like daddy. They make very inappropriate comments sometimes in the middle of a big party, right? Where you have to tell them, do that in your room, please, or don't ask that question out loud. So they do that. They have a little cross-dressing and cross-behavior at that age too, until they find themselves. So for example, little boys might want to wear ribbons in their hair, or they want to wear a dress. And little girls might not want to wear a dress at all and want to be little tomboys. So you have those stages, and they at some point grow out of that, and then they know what is expected of them. The gender expectation, and this gender expectation, what their society tells them and the environment tells them, how do you act as a boy or girl in this society? It starts that early. When they start going to school, those are, by the way, my twins. When they went to kindergarten, I have identical twin boys. So when they start at kindergarten, when kids go to school, over 80% of teachers are female. So and again, studies have shown that they teach and address boys different than they address the girls. They call on them more and everything else. Expectations are different. My boys always get in trouble because they're boys. They do stuff different, and the female teacher doesn't like that. The little girls don't do that, and there you go. So it starts that early. It starts that early. Childhood lessons. Those of you who have kids know, and what I have on the screen here is all American childhood lessons. In another culture, it'll be different. In Germany, it's not like that. But in the States, how do boys play normally? How do they play? Rough, exactly. And they play normally in big groups, right? Most boys play in big groups. They play in, they have rather activity than conversation. My boys and my stepson, they're all the same age, so I'm basically raising triplets. those 3 boys, I hardly ever see them sit down and have a conversation. They don't sit down and discuss something. They get the ball and go outside and play, right? That's what boys do. They rather play than communicate with each other. In large groups, those 3 can play and they invite 5 other friends. They sometimes don't even know what the name of that other kid is. Because they don't care. They don't care. We were last year at the pool, and my son was playing with the kids in the pool, and I said, so what is this boy's name? I don't know. And then my daughter was sitting outside the pool and said, why don't you play? Because I don't know anybody here. And so, yeah, right, we are different. We want the connection first. There are winners and losers. And that's a big thing to understand. Boys play games where you can win or you can lose. And no matter how often you tell them, it does not matter whether you win or you lose, it does matter. My boys play in our church league, and they play basketball and football, all those sports. And when they were small, and now they're 8, but when they were in first grade, they didn't count the points. But my boys knew who won. They knew exactly how many points they scored themselves. They knew how many points the other team scored. They knew exactly who the winner is because it's important to them. Boys don't play a game where they can't win. Some boys do, but the majority of boys, they want to have a game where they can win. So they play games where they can win. Winning also then means they are used to losing. They are used to losing. So if I play games where I can win, I learn how to lose. And then I make a check mark behind it and move on. Because I cannot consistently think about the loss, because next week there's another game, or tomorrow's another game, and I need to move on. I cannot be in that bad mood or something. There are always rules. They make up rules as they go. Right? You can run this far, but you cannot cross that line, and you have to throw the ball. They make up rules all the time. It's all about rules. And they're used to that. It's very, very important. And they're looking for status. Status is also very important for them. You find an older boy giving a younger boy an order and telling them, get me some water or get me a soda. They don't even want the soda. They just want to be able to say that to the other kid. By the way, we women struggle with that also a little bit, because I talk to golf players. Tiger Woods has no problem to have the caddy walking behind him, no problem. Female golf players have a problem with that. It's like, let me help you with those golf clubs. We have a hard time telling somebody else what to do, and it translates in business sometimes too. So, competition and respect, that's what it's all about. It's a status, competition, respect. That's how boys play. So how do we play as girls? Small groups, right? We play, I play with you and you're my best friend. And you can be nobody else's best friend. Because you're my best friend, right? My best friend. And those of you who have kids know they have a best friend in first grade, and then they change classes, and all of a sudden that girl is in a different class, and your daughter comes home, then you're nodding, right? And your daughter comes home devastated because she's not my friend anymore. She found another best friend. That is hard for us. So we play in small groups. The games are not competitive most of the time. Some girls play sports, of course, but most of the games they do is not competitive. It's all make-believe, dreams and princesses and all that stuff, yeah? So it's all make-believe. It's more, and it's not a cliche, because I can tell you a story. They did a study. They wanted to see, is it really nurture, or is it, what happens, and why do we do this, and why do we play like that? So they put little kids, little girls, into a room, and they gave them cars. And said, like, how to play with cars. Let's see what happens. So the family agreed that when they played, they got cars. And the boys got dolls. So guess what happened? The girls organized the cars by families. Mommy car and daddy car and kids car. And the boys put those Barbie dolls and stuff in competitions and fights and everything else. So it is really, so the studies show that. So you might think it's a cliche. It's not true. It is very true. We're looking for a relationship that's more important for us than winning. Relationship is always more important for us than winning or something. Always more important. I'd rather not win and have a good relationship than winning, which can also cause problems, by the way. I will talk about it in a second. And we share a lot of stuff, which can also backfire if she's not your best friend anymore. And you share too much, then you might have some problems. So it's all about relationships. That's how we are. And you see there's a big difference already. And then the hormones kick in, and we start chasing each other, and we have no idea what we signed up for. Because we think they're going to act and we do the same thing we do, and then they don't. Then we're devastated. So just to sign up, rules, goals, status, team. They're also used to players and coaches. They play a lot of sports where there's a coach. So they're used to follow directions. The coach will tell a football player, well, run 10 yards and make a left turn. Do you think that football player is going to say, hey, coach, why don't I run 5 yards and make a right turn? He won't be on the team much longer. They're used to getting orders from others, and they do follow those orders. And by the way, I want you to homework, look up the Boy Scouts, the pledge for the Boy Scouts. The pledge for the Boy Scouts is very different than the pledge for the Girl Scouts. And I have so many people I speak to, they don't even realize. Those of you who have Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, look it up, it's different. One is about trying and the other one is about doing it. So, follow directions. Women, no rules, no status, this process. We discuss everything. When we play together, we discuss. I want to play house, you want to play doctor, then bring your sick baby to me. Right? We'll figure it out. We'll find a way to play together. And there is no boss doll player. There is no boss doll player. Most of you probably been boss doll players. That's why you're successful in your business. And you called the shots, but you didn't get invited as often anymore because the other girls didn't like you. They follow your lead when you take the lead, but you don't get invited anymore. We are on a flat structure. We are on a flat structure. It's the same level. We are all on the same level. And we learn to do that in our games when we play. Very, very important.